Welcome back, everyone. So today we're going to be looking at this 1955 Motorola with a 56 CE. Manufactured November 1955. In a previous video, we kind of went through it, looked at a few things, didn't really test anything, but we found that it's all original. It's all original, but I found a few little things that might be causing this to not work, aside from the obvious multi-section capacitor, which I haven't tested. I'm assuming it's bad. But one thing is for certain, that this 50C5 amplifier tube is ruined. It was confirmed by one of my viewers that this white chalky substance indicates that it has lost vacuum, and there's a crack at the base of it. So I jumped over on eBay and I ordered a replacement 50C5. I thought I was buying a new old stock tube. Well, this is what the box looks like. But you get a load of what's in there. Now, it is a 50C5 tube, but that does not look like an RCA tube to me. That is a Motorola. And it's used. But you know what? It hasn't lost vacuum yet. It's still intact. Let's just try it. Okay, so it's never that simple. We're going to find out that the multi-section cap is bad and that has to be replaced. And there's probably a couple of broken solder joints. As it turns out, the Placer circuit boards that were fairly new at the time, like this is one of the earliest circuit boards to be commercially produced. They were very trouble prone. A lot of broken joints occur in them, and delamination and other crazy things. The clock works, so hey, at least we have a working clock. I thought it would be appropriate to do the first fire up after we fix that one problem. We do the fire up, start up, whatever you want to call it, on an authentic 1954 yellow countertop, because next to the original farmhouse sink. And because, it just seems kumbiotic. All right, we're going to plug this in. Okay, this isn't going to work. Auto, off, on. Okay, I want it off when I plug it in. So we're going to plug it in. The clock will start up for us. There it goes. Now let's light the fires and kick the tires. So I don't want this cover on. I want to leave this aside so I can see what's going on in case I need a fire extinguisher. Oh, one little word of a note. These 50C5 tubes apparently get up to around a little over 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So this could double as an easy bake oven, which is mildly terrifying considering it's a bedside table radio, clock radio. Here we go. Turn it on. Okay, that tube lights up. The other one did not. Okay. Give it a minute. Yeah, nothing. Nothing. Oh! There it goes.
Cut 28.
Ooh.
My dad was a hard-working guy.
It works.
Come home for dinner every night and for breakfast.
Ooh.
Not a joke.
It works. It freaking works.
There's got to be something
And
here that is a joke.
You know what? I don't hear much humming. A little bit.
Just stopped working.
No. It sounds pretty clean. There's not really any humming going on. So that's a good sign. That means the original cap is still good. To an extent. I mean, it's working fine. Now, this is a very simple radio. This is what they call an All-American 5. And it has 5 tubes. And they're very inexpensive to make. This is why they were so common back in the day in cheap radios, because they were very simple, very few parts, very reliable. So they were, let's turn this off. Okay. I'm going to put the cover on. They were very common back in the day for just inexpensive, table radios. Kind of like your dollar store fans. If you're into collecting antique fans, you might know what I'm talking about. There were a lot of inexpensive fans and toasters and appliances that were fairly cheaply made, very inexpensive, kind of like what you would buy today at a drugstore like Walgreens. You can go to Walgreens, you can buy yourself an MP3 player. Very cheaply made, very simple to use, very inexpensive. And that's kind of like what these were. But Motorola was kind of a name. They were a very, very well-known name brand. And they used a very simple AA5 chassis even on their alarm clocks because, hey, why not? I mean, you really don't need a 12-tube chassis for your alarm clock. But this thing works perfectly fine. I'm going to set the clock, and we're going to see if it keeps time. It's currently 4:43 p.m. Not that that matters. Actually, it does matter. Oh, you know what? Whoops. Power cord's loose. So, I should point out one other thing. Okay. So, this is a very simple, very analog clock. Runs at 60 hertz, so it has to have a 60 hertz 120 volt power input. These types of clocks were they didn't differentiate from AM or PM. It doesn't have that ability. So a clock like this, a bedside table radio clock like this, alarm clock, what you would have to do is you would set it for the wake up time, approximately like say 6:30. When it goes on, you have to shut it off. And then the next morning you have to click it to auto. And that is how you would control it. So it wasn't like a set it and forget it. There's no snooze button. Very, very basic operation. Now they made more advanced versions of these clocks that had calendar and AM, PM, and all those other things. But this was a very, very simple, very basic version of that concept. We're not going to go nuts restoring this. I'm going to try to recreate the Motorola logo for the badge. These are, or more often than not, these are missing. This one's actually fortunate because it has it still intact. God, this is a sloppy mechanism. You pull this shaft out the back, and you turn it and turn it and turn it until you get to the right time. And we're now at 4 o'clock. Let's say 4:45. So that's easy enough. 4:45. Let's set it to 4:45, and let's see if it keeps time. Now you push this knob inward to change the alarm time. So for example, if I set this to auto, and it's going to go by the position of, it should go by the position of the minute hand actually. Or no, the hour hand. Hold on. Yeah, it goes by the hour hand position, but it looks like it's a little off. It technically should be on. Oh, it is on.
Not a joke.
Okay.
Not a joke.
And off. Back to auto. And you turn it again.
The
okay.
Brandon speech, Taylor. Biden is still the president. He's been president for 400 years.
Okay, enough of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate this. I'm going to try to... There we go. Turn it off. And we're going to set it to go off. It's turning on too early. That hand...
What the stock market was expecting.
The hand is out of position.
Rally in equities may be over.
So that hand is out of position. We've got to somehow fix that. Unless I'm turning it wrong. Hold on, I think. Push in, time set, pull out. Okay, I'm turning it in the wrong direction. Oh, that's why. Off, on. Okay. I'm supposed to turn it this way.
Dollars in just 3 years.
There we go.
Monetary Gold has a new guide available. The title is 5 Money Mistakes That Could Crush Your Retirement Asset in the Next 6 Months. Also included is the nation's #1 most...
It's not an exact science. So at around... Yeah, you're better off setting it to... You're better off setting it to whole hours, like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, rather than 5:15, 4:15, 4:30. It was a different time. I mean, I'm pretty sure one of my alarm clocks is set to like 6:12 for whatever reason. And of course, there's no snooze alarm because it was the 50s, and when the clock said get up, you get the fuck up. It was a different time. So, kind of disappointed that that's not an NOS tube, but it works. I'll take it, and I'll be happy with that. So, yeah. Anyway. Until then, folks, hope you've enjoyed. If these clocks did come in some amazing colors, like red and teal and white. They had just some really nice colors. And this one, I mean, it's not a bad looker. Oh, they also had purple. So purple was common. Black, I'm not sure if this is considered black or brown. I think it's more of a black. It's a nice looking clock. It does show well. I kind of like it. I really do. You know what I like the most about it, though? Is the fact that Amelia, completely on her own, she wanted to get me something, and she found this on eBay and bought it, and then had me drive her out to pick up whatever it was. I didn't know what I was getting, and I had to walk up to the guy's house, give him, it was like $5. It was really not a lot of money. It was like $5 or $10 maybe. And it was very sweet of her, The guy hands me this clock radio, and I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. I didn't know what to say. So Amelia, that was very sweet of her. That's why, she does stuff like that. She's a very lovely woman, and she's very thoughtful. And that's kind of why I wanted to get this. Normally, I wouldn't have bought something like this. I wouldn't have spent any time on something like this, but because it was her, because she bought it, you gotta go the extra mile and make it work again. So I've been playing this thing for the past couple of minutes, and for a while, and boy, is this thing hot. I'm gonna use this as a hot plate. Another thing is, this radio gets louder than it deserves. This thing cranks. I can't really demonstrate it on camera, but it's just because the microphone won't really get or appreciate just how loud this thing is. But it is loud and hot. So there's that. What a nice little radio. I mean, really, it's simple. Cost me $10 for a used tube. I'm going to probably get another tube because these do burn out quick. They run hot and they burn out quick, so I've understood. They're also very common, so they're not hard to get. But it goes strong. Oh yeah, and my tube tester doesn't have a setting for this tube, so I can't even test them. But oh yeah, and the this knob, this indicator here, it's way off. Way off. Yeah, this is a cheap radio. There's no movable dial. There's no... It's simple construction. It is a bedside clock radio and nothing more. But it is louder than it deserves to be. For what it is, damn. Damn. All right. Well, let's get this video compiled, uploaded, and thrown all over the internet and see what happens. I'm not going to seek, like I said, I'm not going to go for a full restoration. I'm not going to recap it. If it works and it doesn't hum, if you get that 60 hertz hum through the speaker, the louder it is, the worse it is, because the filter caps aren't filtering. That is very common, is a very common problem on old tube sets like this, with paper caps mostly. But if you start to get a 60 hertz hum, that means it's do or die. Yeah. Recap it now or forever spend the rest of your days troubleshooting and replacing components, because when those filter caps go, it can send 120 volts straight into the wrong end of the chassis, as I understand it. I could be wrong, but this is something that I read about, heard about. That is why most people don't recommend plugging these in until they've been properly vetted, because usually the very first thing you do before you plug in something that's this old is just prophylactically replace every capacitor. In my experience, though, that hasn't been the case. That is what was largely, I mean, even people who know what they're doing will sometimes just say, screw it, plug it in. But in my experience, I haven't followed that rule, and it hasn't really caused any catastrophic damage to my knowledge. I had a small table radio from the 1950s. It was a 51, or a 50 or 51 General Electric. Pulled it out of the dump. Perfect condition. Plugged it in at work when I had it in my office. And it worked. It worked great, but it had a very loud hum. So I went ahead and recapped. It was the first radio I ever recapped, and it worked great. No more hum. But then it developed a new problem where it would just fade out. You just turn it on and it just gradually fades out. Could be a faulty amplifier tube, I don't know. But that's what it would do. And you'd have to touch the chassis, touch the screws in the back, because it was a hot chassis, or something, I think it was a hot chassis. And then it would come back to life, magically. And then it would fade out. Then it would come back and fade out. And then another one I had, that phonograph over there, that Motorola phonograph, it was already up and running when I picked it up. Like, the guy was listening to records in his underground garage. And, okay, it works. Turns out, that one was already recapped, but probably in the 70s, or maybe even in the late 60s. So it wasn't running on its original caps. But this one here, original electrolytics and multi-section electrolytic capacitor, because it's a very simple set. It's not loaded. The rest of the capacitors on this, by the way, are ceramic, and we don't need to replace those. They're fine. And anyway, I think that'll conclude the video. Thank you all for watching, and rock on.